Over the last week, we have done a marathon of crafting together. Just to give you a little recap, if you've missed any of them, we've made a layered banner together. We've also made a gorgeous shadow box. We have the cutest gingerbread gift card holder, super cute sanded dome candy holders, even has a little cutout in the back. We've also made the cutest reindeer money holder with personalization on the back. This guy right here is my absolute favorite. Remember, I did tell you marathon because I still have 2 more projects to show you. We've done a hot cocoa gift pouch that stands up on its own. This thing right here turned out so cute. And then we've also made custom 3D Christmas tree baubles together. I did a whole bunch of rainbows because I love rainbows, but you could have made this project in any color to match your themed Christmas tree. At the end of the video of making the banner, I did tell you that today we are going to be making cupcake toppers and centerpieces to match the banner in the New Year's Eve theme. And I can tell you right now, they turned out so stinking cute. Cupcake toppers right here, centerpieces right here, looking good. So before we get into today's project, I just wanted to touch a little bit on the SVG file that we're going to be using. All right, now before we get into today's project, what I want to do is talk a little bit about the SVG file that we're going to be using today. This SVG file is found in my cardstock warehouse, and it just kind of looks boring, right? Oftentimes when we see SVG files that are being sold online, just like in my cardstock warehouse, you kind of think to yourself, what in the world am I going to use that for? Well, today I'm going to show you. So when you are shopping around online for your own SVG files, you're going to be able to think outside the box with just this random picture of 4 random cutouts. Like, why would we use that? What are we going to use them for? I'm going to show you what we're going to use them for. Centerpieces and cupcake toppers. All right, y'all. Are you ready to learn how to use basic SVG files to make them your own using a little bit of imagination? Let's go. Okay, just like with any other Cricut project, the very first thing you need to do is open up a blank window in Cricut Design Space, and that's coming over here to this button right here that says New Project. Then what you need to do is go over to my cardstock warehouse and download the SVG file. Then what you need to do is find that downloaded file that you got off of my cardstock website, come over here to this button right here that says Upload, and then press Upload Image. Finding that file that you downloaded from my cardstock website, we're going to drag and drop it into Cricut Design Space. Then what you want to do is press Continue. It's going to look blurry, that's okay. You can rename this if you want, but then you just want to press Upload. Now with the SVG file added into Cricut Design Space, we are going to create not only cupcake toppers, but centerpieces. Okay, so the very first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to right click and I'm going to press Ungroup. I want to just create these to be their own cutouts, right? Or their own images. So for the very first one, since it's right here and it's easy for me to select, I am going to start with making cupcake toppers. And cupcake toppers for me are about 2.5 inches wide. You can make them any size that you want. I prefer them to be 2.5 inches wide. So only selecting this one, I'm going to come up here to the width and I'm going to change this over to 2.5 and press Return. Now what I'm going to do is selecting this one right here, which is this really cute champagne bottle. I think I'm going to leave it just at 2.34 inches. I'm not going to resize it. I don't think I need to resize that one. All right, so for this one right here, the disco ball, I also want to change this to 2.5. So I'm going to come up here to width and I'm going to do 2.5 and press Return. And then when it comes to this one right here, now you could do one of 2 things. Coming over here, you can open up this drop-down box. You could, if you wanted to, and you wanted to annoy yourself, is you could cut this out on HTV or vinyl and then try and weed out all those small little things. I don't suggest doing that. I really don't. By the time we make them the size that we need to for a cupcake topper at 2.5 inches, it is going to be an absolute nightmare and it's going to take you forever. And in this week's set of projects, the whole point is to do crafting quick because we are busy with the holidays. So don't cut this out on vinyl or HTV. What you want to do is selecting this group right here and you want to press Flatten. We're just going to make this a really quick and easy print then cut project. Just make it easy for yourself. Okay, when you're done doing that, all you want to do is selecting both pieces right here and change it over to 2.5 inches. All right, so these are my cupcake toppers. However, I am going to have a dozen cupcakes at my New Year's Eve celebration, so I need to make a dozen of these cupcake toppers. Doing it nice and easy, we have 4 right here. We're going to select everything and we are going to copy and paste. For me on my keyboard, I'm using a Mac and it's Command C, Command V. And there is 8. And let's just do it one more time. Command C, Command V to get my 12. Now what I love doing is not only having these cutouts as cupcake toppers, I like using the same exact cutouts for centerpieces to stick in our centerpieces for our tablescape, or you could even use these for photo booths if you had a photo booth. So all I'm going to do is when the 4 are selected is I'm going to copy and paste and I'm going to drag these down here. Doing the same thing that we did with the cupcake toppers, I am going to do it for larger centerpieces. The size I like doing for that is 5.5 inches. So I'm going to resize this set that's down here to about 5.5 inches for all of them. Okay, so now with this next step, it's definitely going to be user preference. I get asked this often on top of what size do I make cupcake toppers is do I create backers for my cupcake toppers? I do not. I keep my cupcake toppers simple as can be and only doing the front side of your only making the front side of your cupcake topper cute. And I don't really care what the back looks like. However, when it comes to centerpieces, I always put something cute on the back to hide the ugly stick. Why do I only do it for centerpieces and not cupcake toppers? I'm not entirely sure, but I'm thinking generally when you look at a cupcake, you're only looking at it from the front side. However, when we put something in a centerpiece, like in a flower arrangement or just in a vase, you're going to see both sides, and I definitely don't want my back to look ugly. So with that being said, what I always do is I take like the backer piece. So for this cutout, it's going to be the largest piece is going to be this. I'm going to select it. I'm going to copy and paste, and I'm going to drag it down here just for right now. And then I'm going to do the same thing with everything else. So only getting the green champagne bottle, copy and paste. With my disco ball, I'm going to find the backer of my disco ball, which is this right here. And I'm going to copy and paste. And then doing the same thing with the countdown clock. I'm going to select the yellow countdown clock and I'm going to copy and paste. Now, this next step, if you've chosen to do this with me, is the most important step of this entire process. And that is to take all of these backers right here, and we are going to flip this horizontal. Trust me, you want to do that step. Do not forget. I will explain it to you in the assembly process why this was so important, but do not forget this step. So with that being said, all I'm going to do is press save. Now what you want to do is name your file and press save. And then what you want to do is press make. All right, so depending on what size you make your project, this step may not apply to you. However, if you've made everything the same exact way as me, I would strongly suggest nesting your items. So like for instance, in this Cricut, it tells me that I need 2 sheets of print then cut, but what if I told you if we click over here into the mat 2, let's just drag it down here. Clicking these 3 dots, go to move object, and then click on mat 1 and press confirm. And we are just going to move these circles around. And now look, I have fit all of my print then cut projects on 1 sheet of paper versus having to have 2. So nesting your items, that's exactly what we just did. We nested our items, is going to save on material and on ink. So doing that with everything else, like if you see that you could, conserve on space and nest your items, please do that before you go into the cutting process because I don't want you to waste on material. Okay, and then once you have all your items nested, what we need to do is print out this particular paper, pull all the rest of your cardstock, and then meet me back over at the Cricut so we can cut this out and assemble them together. Okay, so I chose to do my print then cut on this really pearly white color. And the reason for that is in a previous project that we did together, I used it for this hot cocoa emblem, and I just love the way that everything sparkles in the end. So using the same paper that I used for that project, I'm going to use it for this one too. Now this particular paper, it is going to be a pain in the butt for the Cricut to read the registration marks because they aren't very bright. Like the lines aren't very bright. So what I'm going to do is just using a Sharpie, a black Sharpie. I'm going to be very careful where I put my black Sharpie. I'm going to put it over the top of my faded out registration marks. So we're going to do that on all of the registration lines. Okay, just like that, you can see that all my registration lines look a lot brighter now, or a lot darker. Okay, I'm going to insert this into my Cricut. Okay, and then for this stuff, it's actually really thin. So what I'm going to do is click on the light cardstock mode, pressing the fast cut on my computer, and then I'm going to let the Cricut do the registration reading stuff for quick done. All right, this right here ended up cutting perfectly without any issues with the print and cut. So using that little Sharpie hack definitely helps with really good registration mark reading. Also, I forgot to tell you, make sure and turn on your hot glue gun just so it's nice and heated up for when we go to assemble all the things. So before we start assembling, what I want you to do is do all your cuts first. So for the rest of this project, what I'm going to be using is my cardstock found in my cardstock warehouse. The colors that I'm going to be using are the silver mirror foil cardstock. Love my silver mirror. You can see me. Hello. And then we have it white on the back, which is amazing. Then we are going to be using our black glitter cardstock. This right here is 100% shed free. All of my glitter cardstock is shed free. Black is actually one of my most popular colors and it looks absolutely amazing. No glitter comes off of it at all. We've already used mirror gold in the banner that we created together, so we're going to be using it again. Then we have some silver glitter cardstock, champagne glitter cardstock that we are going to use for the champagne bottles, along with evergreen glitter for the labels. This right here matches the champagne, the normal champagne, I forget what brand it is, but this matches that brand color so well. And then my beautiful holographic cardstock. This right here is one of my favorites. Definitely a shining star, white on the back. Okay, now that we have all that, we're just going to put this underneath the Cricut and we are going to cut out all the rest of our cardstock just like what we do with any other cardstock project. Now I did keep all of my glitter numbers all on one mat just because these ones right here are kind of tiny and I don't want to lose them. So we're going to hang those over to the side just for right now until we are ready to glue them. Okay, so first things first, my disco balls are the back of my disco balls. I cut them out in glitter silver and mirror silver because I'm not entirely sure which one I should use. So this is the holographic and this is what it looks like with the mirror on the back of that. That's cute. But what if we do this? Ooh, I like that too. What do you think I should have done? What do you think I should do, actually, is the real question here. Shall we do it? The mirror silver in the back with a holographic on top or glitter silver? I think both look really good. I am torn between the two. Is it the same with you? Is it torn between the two? Do you agree? Do you think that I should just use a flat gray? What do you think? I think I'm going to go with this one. So we're going to go with the glitter silver. So we'll set the mirror ones to the side. You're going to have to let me know what you end up using for your project just because I'm curious. So when it comes to cardstock, before we glue the sticks onto anything, what I want you to do is glue on your layers of cardstock. Now remember, when it comes to these centerpieces, we have a backer and they're going to be mirrored. Some of them are going to be mirrored like this one right here. This is the front, this is the back because it is not facing us correctly. So we're not going to touch those. We're going to set those to the side. So for this portion, the front, I am going to take my holographic cardstock, also my favorite cardstock glue ever. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to put this on the outside of just around the rim. Now, on a lot of these projects that I've been doing this week, I've been using foam tape. You totally could use foam tape in these like larger little things to add more dimension if you want to. I don't think I need it. I'm just going to use a little bit of glue around. Did you see that I only put it around the outer edge? That's because this glue is like super Hulk strength. So it's okay to not have that much glue. And doing the same thing with this, I'm just going to go around the outside edge. I'm just going to do only the disco balls for right now. Then when I'm done, I'm going to move on to another cutout just so I can keep everything nice and organized. Okay, so when we have everything glued down, you can just move the last ones that you've glued down, just move them over to the side just so it gives a little bit of time for the glue to dry. Because right now it's like a skating rink, an ice skating rink where it's all slippery and slidey. So going back over into the original ones that we glue, which would be the disco balls first and foremost. What I'm going to use for my cupcake toppers are clear acrylic cake sticks. You can find this in my cardstock warehouse. I like these. If you don't have these, little wooden toothpicks will do just fine. When it comes to this one right here, we want to make sure and put the stick where it's up and down to this. You don't want to glue the stick over like this, because then it would make your clock not where it's supposed to be. So you want to make sure that the placement of your stick is where it needs to be. So all we're going to do is just put a little bit of hot glue, and then we're going to put the stick. Now for this one only, you just want to make sure and, you know, get this nice and centered onto your piece of cutout, just so then your stick is straight up and down with your clock. So when you put this into your cupcakes, they are nice straight up and down versus cooked. Now I would suggest using a lot less glue than what I did with this, because now we have spillage over here on either side. That's not cute. Which also, I guess you could put another one on the side just to hide the ugly. But again, remember what I said, I don't really mind keeping them ugly for cupcake toppers, just because who looks at the back of a cupcake anyways? Most of the time, nobody. Okay, now when it comes to the centerpieces, in my cardstock warehouse, I do sell 12-inch long acrylic clear sticks. However, I'm not really a fan of that, which I know is probably terrible advertisement because I sell them. But the longer the acrylic goes, which I don't have another stick on hand, but the acrylic is just plastic, and so they can tend to be pretty flimsy. When you take these are not flimsy because they're nice and short, but when you take them and you get them longer, they are even flimsier than these wooden dowels. So I don't particularly like using my clear cake sticks when they are that long, just because they get too fragile. I'm not a fan of that. Other people like using that, which is why I sell them. I just don't really care to use them for this particular setting. So for me, what I'm going to do is start off with that clock. Remember, we focused really heavy on where we place our stick, right? So you want to do the same thing. Add a little bit of hot glue, making sure it's nice and center, up and down, looks good. Then when you have that done, you can see that I slid it around, made a mess. That's okay, because we are going to hide the ugly. I'm going to put a bead of hot glue around and then up onto the stick, just like that. Taking the backer of my clock, which is going to be the mirror gold, and I'm going to set this down and push it down. So before we had the ugliness of the stick and the glue, now doesn't matter what side you're on, it looks good on both sides. Now you could do this for cupcake toppers. But remember what I said, most of the time when we look at cupcake toppers, we're only looking at the front. However, when it comes to like centerpieces or even like photo booth props, you are seeing the back, which is why I always cover the back when it comes to centerpieces. Definitely a user preference. You could totally do it any way you want. These centerpiece sticks match the banner that we created earlier perfectly. Absolutely gorgeous. I love all the sparkle, the glitz, and the glam. I am having so much fun this week creating all of the projects with you using my cardstock. Now, we have definitely been doing a marathon of crafting with our Cricut. In my next video, what I am going to post is the coolest Caesar Juliet print and cut project. Now I know I'm like throwing a wrench and everything because we've done every single Cricut project you could probably think of in cardstock, but I wanted to show you one really cool feature that the Caesar Juliet can do that the Cricut can't, and that is cut 12 by 12. That's right. You do know that if you have been using Cricut for a very long time that you cannot cut 12 by 12 cardstock. But with the Caesar Juliets, you can. So in the next project that we are going to do one of my most viral tutorials ever, and we're going to create the coolest calendar using our Caesar Juliet and the 12 by 12 print and cut feature that they have. I can't wait to see you over in the next one. Bye, friends.